Tucked away in the foggy valleys of the Carpathian Mountains, far from city life and tourist paths, farmers are facing a relentless enemy: wild bears. These powerful predators rip into grain stores, smash beehives, plunder potato fields, and even kill calves and sheep tied near the barns. For families already living on the edge, a single night of destruction can wipe out both their food and their livelihood. Desperate for relief, villagers have tried everything: electric fences, loud deterrents, guard dogs, even relocation efforts. But nothing seems to outsmart the bear's intelligence or overpower their sheer strength. What once felt like rare encounters has now turned into a full-blown crisis, putting the survival of these remote communities at serious risk. So, how do you put an end to the problem? For many, the answer lies in hunting. In the rugged heart of the Carpathian Mountains, wild bears roam vast forests, shadowed valleys, and jagged peaks. They inspire both awe and danger, testing the grit of hunters who dare to follow their tracks. This region, stretching across Central and Eastern Europe, holds one of the largest populations of brown bears on Earth, some of them growing to staggering size. Hunting these giants isn't just sport. It's a test of skill, preparation, and survival. Bears are nothing like smaller game. Their thick fur, dense bone, and raw muscle make them incredibly tough to bring down. That's why hunters rely on high-powered rifles and pinpoint accuracy to ensure a clean, ethical kill. Out here, the choice of weapon isn't about preference. It's about survival, the fine line between a successful hunt and a deadly mistake. Seasoned hunters know that not every rifle is built to take on the raw power of the Carpathian bear. For most, large-caliber rifles are the go-to choice, with trusted favorites like the .30-06 Springfield, .300 Winchester Magnum, and the legendary .375 H&H Magnum leading the pack. These cartridges deliver the stopping power and deep penetration needed to bring down bears that can tip the scales at 400 to 800 pounds. But in the Carpathians, where some bears grow to over 900 pounds in peak condition, hunters often reach for even bigger firepower. Heavy hitters like the .338 Winchester Magnum or the .416 Rigby are designed for one purpose: to stop a charging beast with a single decisive shot. The right choice doesn't just protect the hunter, it shows respect for the animal by ensuring a swift, ethical end. Raw power alone isn't enough when it comes to hunting Carpathian bears. Reliability and accuracy are just as critical. That's why many seasoned hunters trust bolt-action rifles. Their rugged design and consistent precision make them the top choice in tough conditions. Just as important is the scope. In the Carpathians, thick forests often cut visibility down to only a few dozen yards. A clear, dependable scope with adjustable magnification can mean the difference between a clean shot and a mischance, especially in low light or when a bear bursts suddenly through the brush. Ammo choice is just as vital. Experienced hunters recommend controlled expansion bullets, designed to hold their weight and punch deep through thick hide and solid bone. This ensures maximum energy transfer to vital areas, giving hunters the stopping power they need while delivering a swift, ethical kill. When it comes to bringing down a Carpathian bear, shot placement is everything. The vital zone sits just behind the front shoulder, where the heart and lungs are located. A clean hit here delivers a quick, humane kill. While it might be tempting to aim for the head, that's a rookie mistake. The bear's heavy, sloped skull can deflect bullets with ease. And poorly placed body shots, they don't just wound the animal. They turn the hunt into a life-or-death struggle with an angry predator ready to charge. That's why patience and discipline are non-negotiable in the Carpathians. Hunters must wait for the perfect angle, steady their aim even as adrenaline surges, and trust the training that got them there. Few dare to face these giants alone. Most rely on companions or skilled local guides, both for their backup firepower and their hard-earned knowledge of the land. In this wilderness, survival often depends on teamwork. Hunting in the Carpathians demands more than a steady trigger finger. Mastering the terrain, reading shifting winds, and understanding how bears move are just as vital as marksmanship. Many hunters even carry a backup handgun, often a .44 Magnum revolver, as a last line of defense in case a bear charges at close range.
Whoa!
In these unforgiving mountains, redundancy isn't overkill, it's survival. But preparation stretches far beyond firearms. Weather in the high Carpathians can swing from calm to brutal in minutes, so durable, waterproof gear is non-negotiable. Insulated boots with solid traction are essential for scrambling over slick rock and steep slopes. Hunters also depend on scent control, camouflage, and silent movement to stay hidden, reduce detection, and boost their odds of closing in on a wary predator. So, what about you? Would you stick with the trusted reliability of a classic bolt action, or lean toward the raw stopping power of a heavy Magnum build for dangerous game? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear what strategy you'd bring to a hunt this risky. And if you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more adrenaline-packed hunts as we explore the wildest challenges from around the globe. Man, the heat is on. Hey everyone. Most people assume bears wander into towns because forests are shrinking, food is running out, or their numbers have exploded thanks to conservation loss. While all of that is true, there's another reason many folks forget. Hikers and campers often leave scraps of food behind. Over time, bears have learned to link the smell of people with the promise of an easy meal. Now they're showing up more often in farm fields, raiding beehives, tearing through garbage cans, and even attacking livestock. In some cases, they've gone so far as to break into houses, creating a real threat to both local farmers' livelihoods and public safety. If you want to follow more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. In response to the growing threat, the U.S. government authorized controlled hunts to limit the destruction caused by wild bears. To improve our odds, we set out bait, grain, honey, and fresh salmon. As the afternoon heat intensified, the smell of fish carried through the forest like an open invitation, impossible for a hungry predator to ignore. Then I slung my .30-06 rifle and made my way into the woods. About 60 yards from the bait site, we built a blind behind a wall of fallen logs and brush, concealed but with a clear line of sight. Rifle steadied on bipods, we scanned the trees, every sense sharpened by silence. Then, as the light began to fade and shadows stretched long across the forest floor, a massive bear appeared, muscular, cautious, and following the trail of scent straight toward us. My finger rested close to the trigger as I steadied my breath, waiting for the perfect moment. Each step the bear took brought it deeper into the endgame, completely unaware of the hunters nearby. Because of their unpredictable and aggressive nature when threatened, bears are rarely hunted alone. Most groups range from 2 to 5 people. That day, we had trekked nearly 3 hours along the forest edge, where snow clung stubbornly to the rocks, and the crisp air carried the scent of sage and granite. Our guide Craig was the first to spot movement, a grizzly gliding across a rocky slope like a bronze shadow, nose down, searching for prairie dogs. We hunkered behind boulders for 2 long hours, the wind biting at our faces, until the bear finally closed to within 270 yards. I squeezed the trigger, the rifle's crack echoing through the thin mountain air. The bear roared and reared up in rage. I fired again, driving the shot just behind its shoulder. It staggered, thrashed violently, and then collapsed, the forest falling silent around us. Even in death, the animal still carried an air of majesty. Its muscles coiled like thick rope, its claws curved and sharp as steel. Not long after, word spread through the eastern outskirts of Wyoming about a black bear raiding hay bales and feedlots. It was unusual for bears to roam that far out, but this one had clearly learned how to adapt. The U.S. Department of Agriculture estimates that wild bears inflict nearly $5 million in losses on American agriculture each year. Determined to track this one down, I relied on both an ATV and a drone, spending 2 full days tracing its movements across the countryside. Finally, on a brisk Tuesday morning, I caught sight of it near a windbreak along an old fence line. The bear was massive, sleek, and alone. I crouched low, using what little brush the land offered, and worked my way to within 150 yards. The bear halted suddenly, lifted its head, and sniffed the air before rising onto its hind legs. Its eyes found me. I squeezed the trigger just as it lunged forward. The shot punched through its lung, but the bear bolted with astonishing speed, kicking up clouds of dust before crashing down and rolling to a stop. But not every hunt ends with a clean victory. One evening, just before the light disappeared, a massive bear wandered beneath my perch, far too close for a safe downward shot. I stayed perfectly still, hoping it would pass, until the wind betrayed me. The bear lifted its head, and our eyes locked. My pulse hammered as it circled the tree, growling low and deep. With no choice, I eased down slowly, rifle at the ready, fully aware I had broken the golden rule, never let a bear get within striking distance. Then a branch snapped somewhere in the brush, and the bear spooked. It spun, crashed through the timber, and was gone. This time, I had to watch it escape. Few hunts compare to tracking grizzlies along Alaska's salmon-rich rivers. On the Kenai Peninsula, I teamed up with a licensed guide and pitched camp beside a river bend famous for its spawning runs. Hours later, a massive grizzly stormed through the shallows, its fur slick with fish scales. I waited until it dragged a salmon onto the bank, then took a shot. The bullet struck cleanly behind the ear, and the bear dropped instantly. What do you think? Can hunts like this truly help manage America's wild bear population? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. Late fall hunting brings its own brutal challenges. Snow blankets the land, muffling every sound while concealing hidden dangers. We tracked a black bear to its den, not yet deep in hibernation, restless, perhaps stirred by passing hikers. From our vantage point above the slope, we watched closely. Then the bear pushed out of its snow-capped den, following the trace of our scent. I had only seconds to react. The shot cracked through the still forest, and the bear staggered before collapsing back inside the den. It was a quiet, solemn end. Bow hunting, however, demands a completely different skill set. A bow is silent compared to a rifle, sparing nearby wildlife from alarm, but it leaves no room for error. Without the luxury of fast follow-up shots, hunters must rely on patience, setting up in tree stands and waiting for the perfect ambush. I spent 5 long days tracking a mother bear and her cub. By Friday morning, they circled back to the bait box I had set. But the moment they sensed danger, both bolted and scrambled up a tree. I didn't hesitate. Drawing my bow, I loosed an arrow that buried deep into the shoulder. The bear tore off into the brush, leaving a blood trail behind. Hours later, I followed it to a sparse bush, where it finally lay still. In Montana, the hunt took on an entirely different form. I joined a crew of 5 in a coordinated effort, each of us posted at key points around a ravine where a grizzly had been spotted. Scouts pressed forward to drive it out. The forest erupted with the sound of breaking branches, and suddenly the bear thundered up the slope. I steadied, fired twice, and watched it collapse only a few feet from the ridge. Bear hunting in the United States is tightly regulated. Every licensed hunter is required to file detailed reports after a hunt, and harvest limits are strict, usually no more than 5 to 10 bears per season. Breaking those rules comes with steep consequences, with fines ranging from $10,000 to $15,000. But hunting wild bears here goes far beyond trophies or adrenaline. It's about forging a deep connection with the wilderness, one built on knowledge, discipline, risk, and above all, respect for the animal and the land.